Welcome to the Results Method podcast, where real people achieve real results in the real world. Hosted by accredited sports nutritionist, contest prep coach, and three-time fitness world champion and coach, Alicia Kyrgios, alongside co-host and FMG pro athlete, Sarah Priestley. This podcast is your all-access pass to sustainable transformation. We go beyond quick fixes and one-size-fits-all plans. We break down the principles, structure, and strategies that actually create results. This is the Results Method.
I think whenever you're ready, Sarah.
Yep, I'll start recording. And then did you want to jump in with an intro or?
Yeah, I'll just do a little intro. And then, Alan, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Amazing.
All right, welcome to the latest episode of the Results Method podcast, where I'm joined not only by my beautiful co-host, Sarah Priestley, but also the wonderful Elin Granstrand, who has been flitting in my inbox and also across all of my timelines, working with various people over the last few months. And I was really keen to get her on so we could have a really good chat about all the things that Alan focuses on, which I think are some pretty interesting topics inside this industry and also this sport. And without further ado, I think I will let Alan introduce herself, because there's probably a very specific way that she likes to term or coin what it is that she does.
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction. You know what? I feel like I introduce myself in a different way every time. But basically, what I do, so I help mostly bodybuilders and fitness girls to reduce their food noise and stop binge eating. And especially like the bodybuilding girls is something that I've really gotten into in the last probably 6 months or 6 months. And just noticing what a difference it makes to their prep and their off season and on stage when they have done the work and not just, focus everything on their nutrition and their training, which is obviously super important as well, but also put that effort into working on their mindset and their nervous system. So yeah, that's what I do.
Love that. So for those that haven't come across you before, what led you into becoming a specialist in this space and really doubling down on the whole binge eating restriction cycle?
Yeah, so I've been doing this for about 8 years now. And what really got me into it, so I myself struggled with eating disorders basically my whole life. And it started off, when I was 14, I started off just dieting like so many 14-year-olds do. You just want to fit into school and you just want to, get a little bit skinnier for summer. And I realized quickly that, oh my God, I'm really good at losing weight. And after losing a bit of weight, I started getting all this attention and people noticed me. Like growing up, I was such a shy child and I never really spoke up. I didn't really take up space, but all of a sudden people were just like, wow, like you lost so much weight. Like, how'd you do it? Oh my God, I wish I had your willpower. I wish I had your motivation. So very early on, I started forming this belief that, okay, well, the skinnier I am, the more attention I get. And the harder I work, the more people like me. So this very quickly escalated into a full-blown eating disorder where my whole life just revolved around not eating. How can I lie about what I've eaten? How can I lie about how much exercise I've done? Weighing myself 10 times per day. It just took over my life completely. And once I started, fast forward a few years, but fast forward to that, my mom actually met me in the hallway one time when I came home from school, and I will never forget this because she was just crying, and I'd never seen my mom cry before. And she said to me that, I know that you're lying. I know that you're not eating, and I'm so worried that you're going to die. So I'm going to give you two options. You either start eating again, or we're going to have to put you in a hospital. And, that I didn't want to go to hospital. So I kind of just thought, well, if I could just stop eating, then I can just start eating again. It can't be that hard. And it wasn't. Obviously, if anyone's ever struggled with an eating disorder or even just dieting for a long period of time, it is difficult. So that's when I started binge eating. And it was literally like someone just flipped a switch in my brain where for my whole anorexia journey, I didn't eat at all, basically. And then now I just had no control whatsoever. I would, if I would have one little slice of a cookie or something, I would just binge the whole day. And then I would, write the whole day off. And then the next day start again, try restricting, try and train to like exercise and burn the calories off. And then that would work for a couple of days or a few weeks, and then binge again. And it started off very innocently, just like a tub of Ben and Jerry's or a pizza or whatever. But the more I did it, the worse the binges got, and the more I would beat myself up in between as well. And something I see so much with the fitness girls that I do work with is, I don't feel like, I'm not bad enough just because you don't look bad. Like, I still looked quote unquote good because I was so good at restricting. I was so, I was training 3 hours a day to make up for this food.
Wow.
This is what, I think this is why it took me so long to actually get the proper help, because I looked normal. No one could see from the outside how bad it actually was. But I just remember feeling like such an imposter, that people would look at me like, Ellen is the gym girl. She brings her gym kit to work and she tracks her macros and she, this and that. And deep down, like, I was like, well, I'm not that person, because as soon as you leave, I'm going to binge, or, I'm leaving a birthday party because I would rather go home and binge. And yeah, this kept going for 10 years. And
wow, long time.
Yeah, because it didn't feel like it was a problem. Like, for me, for a long time, it felt like this is just my life. Like, for me, the most exciting part of my week was to go home and eat. Like, I would rather eat and binge than be out with my friends or go on a holiday. Like, I didn't care. Like, for me, the whole week just revolved around, how can I burn these calories off, and how can I then binge on the weekends? Like, how can I earn my weekend binge? And it's so common. Like, I see it so much with the girls that I work with. But yeah, then how I started recovering was I just joined one of my friends to this like mindset workshop. Like, I'd never done any mindset work before. And the speaker was talking about how so much of our reactions are and the thoughts that we have, and how the anxiety and the dysregulation and feeling numb and stuff like that stems from not feeling good enough, and how our behaviors are just evidence that they're just confirming the belief that we already have. And it was just like something just hit me, and I just started bawling my eyes out. I had to go outside. And then I signed up the next day, and that was my journey. And once I recovered, I kind of felt like, I want to do this myself. Like, I want to help people. And yeah, that's how it all started.
Wow, what a journey, and what a really long time frame too, from sort of start to finish. When you had that conversation with your mother, which was obviously a massive catalyst moment, and you decided to just quote unquote start eating again, did you anticipate that concept of simply starting again was the recovery process? Was what recovery actually became really different to what you thought it was going to be?
Oh God, yeah. Like, I literally thought that I can just go back to eating like a normal person. But then I didn't know what that, like, I'd forgotten what that felt like. Like, I didn't know how to eat, your home cooked meal that your parents had made. I didn't know how to eat that without feeling like consumed by guilt, and just my mind just taking over with, this has this many calories, this has this many calories. I didn't know how to enjoy food anymore, because I was either binging or restricting.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess, the recovery process, it sounds to me like, moved you more and a lot more into healing parts of yourself first and foremost, and then the way that you viewed certain things had to change. Would you say that is the cornerstone for most ladies that you see?
Yeah, absolutely. So the how I work with women who struggle with binge eating is, I very, very rarely see that it's food is the problem. A lot of people will come to me and say I just love food, or I have no willpower, or I'm addicted to chocolate. But once we then start digging into the reasons why they're thinking about chocolate, or why they're eating pizza, or why they're having, 4 types of ice cream. There's almost always a deeper lying reason. And so many of us women have been brought up with this mindset of, we're supposed to be the good girls. We're supposed to just be happy and be easygoing and not really speak up and not have needs and not set boundaries. Just kind of go with the flow, just be easy, just, be a good girl. And as soon as you start crying or showing any kind of anger or big emotion, a lot of us were just sent to our rooms or told, oh, stop crying or come back when you're happy. And what this really teaches that little girl is that your feelings don't matter. Your feelings are not valid. Like, you're overthinking, you're too much, you're so emotional, you're too dramatic. So we learn to push these down. And then a lot of women that I specifically work with, and, in the bodybuilding industry, they're overachievers. They're like the ones who love to push it to the extra limit. They love that validation of like doing this thing that no one else can do, like going the extra mile, being the hardest worker in the room. So when you have that I need to go harder, I need to push more, I need to do more things, with also the other side of, I also can't show anyone that I'm struggling. Like, I cannot ask for help. I cannot show anyone that I'm not doing that well right now. I need to keep achieving. Well, eventually your body's going to go, you can't. Like, you have to stop. You have to regulate. You have to take a breath. And food is the easiest way for most people to regulate. Something that we all have at home. You can order it within 10 minutes on your phone. Most people live quite close to a service station or a shop that you can just go in and buy chocolate or whatever. And yeah, it does work at the time. You do feel better. Whilst when you're binging, you do feel good in that moment. But then after, you get consumed by this, the guilt and the shame, and like, I shouldn't have done this, and the anxiety comes in, and like, okay, how can I fix this? Like, I just need to be stricter next week. I need to just get rid of all the chocolate that I have in the house. I need to tell my coach that I need to have lower calories or whatever it might be. And that works for a little bit, but then the next weekend comes around and same thing happens again.
Yeah. And I can even think about certain scenarios where they wouldn't even tell their coach what they're doing, but they're actually restricting themselves.
Yeah.
Especially in a reverse process. I've seen it many times over the years. Why do you think so many people panic when it's time frame to move from restriction, say, into a period where, they end up feeling out of control around food? If we think about the sport specifically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're restricting, it gives you a sense of control, and control is safety. Feeling like you can control your food and your environment and your body, especially, like, most of all, like, so many women, we've been brought up with having to look a certain way and the pressure to look a certain way, and especially in the bodybuilding industry, it's huge on social media. And every competitor will follow, thousands of other competitors to compare themselves to how is her reverse diet going, and how's, what she look like after the show, and how is that person doing? How many calories are they eating? And when you start comparing yourself to other people, you are going to create stress in your body. And the more stress you create, well, the more your body's gonna want to regulate. And one of the fastest way to feel regulated is through eating.
So interesting. And look, it's probably difficult for people like Sarah and I, because we've actually never experienced this personally. I, however, was raised with a sister 10 years older than me that had anorexia and was a lot of time in hospital. So she actually didn't do what you did and tried to correct it on her own. She actually ended up in the hospital and was very close to actually dying. So I think, for me, from that experience, I learnt through what I saw, and that was enough for me to have a deeper respect with self and also, I think, food. But it also changed, I guess, some of the language and the way that things were done in the household, because it became very clear just how easy it is for young girls to fall into this trap, right? So I guess, one of the things that I see in the industry is this concept and this fixation on scales. And so it becomes about a number and or a potential increase in that number over time, right? That freaks women out. And if I had $1 for every time I can count someone coming to me and saying, I want to look better, I want a butt, but you've got to cut. You've got to make me this amount of weight. And I'm like, cool. Well, what if I told you that the butt you want and the things you want and how you want to feel naked and in a bikini is going to weigh significantly more than that number? Do you still want to focus on the number? So I see this number and this navigation around scales and an increase in that is something that is a common fear for women and a common, I'd say, bottleneck in the process, right? So just for you personally, how did you navigate that weight gain when you were in the process of that deep recovery and healing your relationship with food and with self? How did you navigate it?
Yeah, and I think what you're describing is insanely common, and not just in the bodybuilding industry. Like, I'd say
as a whole.
Yeah, like with most women, that, you know, I remember growing up, like I had this in my head, like I cannot be over a certain amount, like kilo, because if I am, then that means I'm fat. And it's so many women have the same experience of, you know, I need to be a size 8 or 10 or 6 or whatever it is. You know, everyone has a different number in their head. And I think so many of us have learned to kind of attach our worth to the number. But and then so obviously, like when you are looking at that number going up, it feels like, well, if the number's going up, that must mean that I'm less worthy, than that I'm failing and I'm doing something wrong. So for me, I think what really helped was to start looking at my body more as a training more for performance, and like looking at what my body could do, rather than just looking at, oh, I need to be this size or I need to be this skinny. So building a mindset more so to appreciate, like, wow, like I can do a pull-up, like that's so cool. Or, you know, I can run like 5 kilometers in less than 30 minutes, or squat 100 kilos, and like learning that that's actually really, really cool. And also like working with good coaches who are educating on, you know, muscle, like if you want to build the butt, you are going to gain a little bit of weight. That's okay. Like the scale is going to go up. Like all of, like understanding that all of those women that we look up to, and we might think in our minds that, oh, they must be, I don't know, 50 kilos, whatever. They're probably going to be a lot heavier than that because of their muscle that they have. So having that understanding, I think, you know, as fitness coaches, it's so freaking important to educate the clients on that aspect.
Yeah, 100%. How long did it take you to become genuinely free with food?
Yeah, honestly, I think that if you've struggled with food for as long as I have, I don't know if you can be 100% recovered. Like, I think that you will always, like, even now, like I'm on a holiday now in Italy, and even now, every now and then I will get this like little voice in my head come back and just say, should you really be eating that? Or, you know, I haven't trained in a week, like, shouldn't you go to the gym? Like, maybe you should go for a run. But I always say to my clients that there's no delete button in the brain. The only thing that we can do, that we can't delete our thoughts, but we can learn to replace them and learn to not attach as much meaning to them, that we make them who we are. So when that voice comes in, instead of believing it like, oh yeah, you haven't gone to the gym, you have eaten too much food, you have, you know, you're gaining weight, all that head noise, I will instead just go, you know what? It's okay that these thoughts are here. These thoughts are here because for a very long time, they were my reality. And they started because it was a way for me to feel safe in that moment. It was a way for my body in that moment to feel like it had control. So they're not bad thoughts. They're just there because they worked for a period of my life. But now they're not helpful anymore. And what's helpful for me right now is to look at, you know, this beautiful like house that we're staying in Sicily, you know, spending time with my family, enjoying the moment, like having that gelato, because like Italian gelato is the best. Like, where else are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah had it in her plan every single day as part of her recovery phase, straight off stage. So
exactly. And I really do believe that your body is just it's it's just evidence of like what your current priorities are. And if you're on a holiday and you're eating a bit of extra food, yeah, you might come back a little fluffier, and that's okay. You know, it will just come straight off as soon as you get back home and you go back into your normal habits. You don't need to go for this crazy restriction diet when you get home to like quickly lose the weight again, because that all or nothing mindset that you've been doing for most of your life is also what's gotten you into this position where you're in when you're feeling guilty around food. You are binge eating, you're constantly yo-yo dieting and beating yourself up. So we need to break that in order for you to actually have a happy and fulfilled life.
Yeah.
Where do you think that mindset comes from? Like, I'll start again Monday, or I'll start again when I come home from holiday. Like, where do you think that mindset comes from, and how do you help people work through that and just get that kind of balance in their everyday life?
Yeah. I think it comes, well, for a lot of people, it comes from having lived a life where you have been rewarded for being perfect. So if you, for example, grew up, like so many women, myself included, grew up with a dad who I felt like the only real time he saw me was when I was performing, was when I, you know, was achieving things. So I learned that love is conditional, and I'm only good enough when I am achieving things, when I'm being all in. So therefore, being all out means that you're failing, but I didn't know anything different. So that's very common for a lot of people, but not everyone. Another reason why the all or nothing mindset is there is it feels safe. You know, when that anxiety kicks in, anxiety is very good at getting us to do things. So when our anxiety kicks in, we usually go into, okay, how can I fix this situation by doing something? So how can I train harder? How can I restrict more? You know, I just ate a whole tub of gelato. Okay, this anxiety, this guilt creeps in. How can I fix it? By restricting, by training more, by coming up and training a new meal plan, or, you know, changing my nutrition coach. You know, I'm sure you've seen them all. And, you know, you do that for a little bit, but because you go so hard, you go so all in, then eventually your body's like, I can't take it anymore. You can't be so all in all the time. You can only be like that for a certain period of time. Eventually you need to rest. And if you don't take that rest and slow down, your body will slow down for you.
Do you think there's like red flags or warning signs that people would get before a big binge, or before they kind of reach that level where they just can't take it anymore? Like, are there things they can look out for?
Yeah. So a big thing that I see, especially with bodybuilders and having been around a lot of bodybuilders, is coming out of the show and having, like, you know, a croissant or whatever it might be, and instead of like taking time and eating it, just shoving it straight in, like it's gone in like a minute, like that.
You see that backstage.
Yeah. And like, obviously, you know, as soon as you just come off stage, you know, it's a fun experience. You're having fun with your girlfriends at backstage and eating cookies and whatever. Like, I don't want to take away from that. Like, I think that's such a fun part of it. But when it then bleeds into like weeks after stage, that's when it starts to become a problem. So I'd look at how fast you're eating, how much you're thinking about food. Before a binge, you will, once you start noticing these things, you will start noticing that, you know, your heart might start racing, that you might get this hyper focus of, I just need to eat that donut, and I can't even think of anything else. Like, I don't care that I have to drive across town to get this donut, or leaving my kids in the car, or that the donut is like $50 or whatever. Like, you just want to eat it. And usually feels a lot of like you on autopilot. Like, you have kind of this one side of you is like, I shouldn't have it, but the other side of it's like, but I can't stop thinking about it. Like, it feels like an addiction. Like, it does feel like an addiction.
I was about to say, you actually sound like someone who's about to take a big hard hit of a very hard drug. Like, actually, that's exactly all of the symptoms and stuff that they show. That's interesting. Okay, so, you know, question for you. If you've got an athlete that's just stepped off stage, and historically all the way through their process have been fantastic, but all of a sudden, you know, they might go MIA for 4 to 6 weeks, and then they're in your inbox and they've basically blown up 15 kilos, you know, 10 to 15 kilos in 5 or 6 weeks. I know this sounds extreme, but it's not. This stuff actually happens, and people legitimately do this. And I saw a young girl once, wasn't my athlete, but I saw her gain 10 kilos in 10 days. post a show because she just did the cookie and donut thing you just discussed to the extreme. So my question to you is that if they are in good enough hands or have a good enough support person that they're given someone like you as a contact to reach out to and they make that call, what is the process you go through with them? Talk us through a little bit of okay, so from the minute that Mary comes to you, how do you treat Mary and what does it look like working with you through a situation like that? Because you probably see stuff like this all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So every single client that I work with is, very different. So what I first need to do in our first call, I will go through basically their whole childhood and their whole upbringing, because this is really going to tell me a lot about what are their core wounds, what are their triggers going to be, and what are the stories going to be that they'll be telling themselves. So, for example, if Mary has that cookie, the reason that she starts binging isn't just because she loves cookies so much. The reason she starts binging is because she will start thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm a failure, or oh, I will never be a bodybuilder, I'm an imposter, or whatever it might be. What will happen after that is that she will become dysregulated. So she will enter one of the dysregulated states of your nervous system. So fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So we will look at what is your kind of home base. So when you get triggered, what does that look like for you from a nervous system aspect? So for example, a lot of people will go into a flight mode. And this is where they just like run away from their problem. Like, I don't want to think about this. I'm just going to run away and just avoid it. Which, is the avoidance that you're talking about there. It's like, I'm just going to avoid my coach and solve this on my own. I'm not going to ask for help. Some people might go into a complete freeze of just feeling like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed, and message their coach and say, I just binged and I've done so many terrible things, and I've eaten and I've done this, but you might tell them do this, and this, and they can't do it because they're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I just can't get anything done, but I'll start again tomorrow. Other people might completely shut down and just feel like, oh, I'm such a failure, I can't do anything right, like what's wrong with me, why am I this person? And when you understand the different states of your nervous system, it becomes a lot easier to then regulate, because the different states require different tools. So yeah, in the first call, we very much dive into the beliefs, the stories, the core wounds, but we also look at what's your home base and how can we look at regulating, and also look at picking up on the small signals throughout the day. So, it's not like, it doesn't usually, like the binge doesn't happen when you're already, it starts a lot earlier, but then when you are, deep into your Ben and Jerry's, you probably starts at like 4 o'clock when you're leaving work and you've had a really stressful day. And because you've stressed all day, you haven't eaten, you haven't taken time to rest, you haven't, checked in with yourself. So looking at all of that as well. And I know it sounds like it's so much and so confusing, but it makes sense when you're on the call. And then we do a lot of work on WhatsApp as well, like going back and forth. So they feel like they have that support and accountability. Because I truly don't believe that you need to have months and months and months of struggling with this. Like if you have the right tools and support, you can break it quite quickly.
What's the average time frame that you sort of notice that is possible if they lean into the process properly?
Yeah. The girls who actually lean into the process, who trust the program 100%, who do the task, and not even so much doing the task, but just like have that communication and ask for help when they need it, usually within like 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a lot sooner than I would have thought. That's really good.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like we can't delete something from your your brain. So that's why, I would never just finish off with a client and after 6 weeks and just send them off, because then they're very likely to just fall back into old habits. So obviously we need to take the time to really ingrain it and make sure that this is now your new normal, and that whenever you, go through a breakup in the future or you do another bodybuilding show, you don't just fall back into this again.
Question for you on the concept of doing another bodybuilding show, because this is definitely, stuff for me where I'm like, cool, you're not even looking at it. We're not even considering it. It's not even on the bingo card. I can't even tell you when it's going to be. And I believe that if you're a good coach, that's exactly how you do converse with someone that starts to elicit issues and or dysmorphias that become problematic, right? Is this, concept of, do you try to persuade them into avoiding and stop focusing on and stop setting deadlines and goals for future stages until not only has this pattern been, or this almost like a rewiring taken place and ingrained, which is essentially what you're doing, but then you've been able to manage this without repeat bouts and or relapses for a period of time? Do you sort of set that vision for them?
Yeah, for sure. Like I've said to multiple people that I don't think you're ready to leave the program, or I don't think that we should even be thinking about a competition for you right now, or this needs to be the number one priority, like before we look at competing or losing weight or anything. And like, I'm sure you've had this yourself, like some people will take that on board and they will be like, okay,
some people won't.
And some people are like, you know what, no, I want to finish off, like I want to do this right now. And a lot of them usually comes back 6 months later. So
yeah, and you will. Sometimes there are people that definitely don't like being told no or being told what they need to hear. They just want what they want to hear. And that is when you will see people exit and go to a different coach that doesn't mind, doesn't care, who cares about their health, throw them on stage anyway. We definitely see it. It's absolutely an issue inside of this industry. And I would say, now that you've been on both sides of the coin of both the eating disorder and then in what you thought was recovery, a binge restrict cycle that seemed to take up well over a decade of your own life, what does this sort of give you, and how do you, when you think about like the bodybuilding process as a sport and the industry as a whole, what does that give you about it? Like, how do you feel about it? What would you, has your views on it changed since going through all of this yourself?
I've always been under the mindset that I don't believe that there's just one thing that causes an issue. Like, you need, like, if you go into bodybuilding and then you have an eating disorder, it's not just the bodybuilding. Like, it doesn't create an eating disorder, I don't believe. I believe that it just kind of magnifies what's already there. And, you are going through, like, you're putting your body through extreme restriction and extreme, posing and training routines and all the stuff that is required. So if you have any underlying issues there that aren't resolved, whether that is anxiety or depression or your relationship to your body or to food or feeling like an imposter or comparing yourself or whatever it might be, that is going to be, you're going to feel that like times 1,000. Maybe not so much whilst you're in prep, because then you have this like huge goal of getting on stage and getting your sparkly bikini and visualizing yourself doing all of those like really fun things. So it can be easy to kind of push those feelings down of like, oh no, I'll just train a little bit more, or I'll just meal prep, or I'll just practice my posing or whatever, like distract yourself. And then when we've removed that distraction, well, all of a sudden, all of these things that were kind of just sitting on the surface will just come up. And this is where I think this is why so many people start binging, because most people don't have the tools to deal with all of that. And a lot of people feel, very lonely. They feel very lost after coming off a show. That super like huge goal, the hyperfixation is gone. Like, there's a massive part of your life now that, you're no longer spending however many hours doing your steps, doing your meal prep, doing your posing, emailing the bikini person, like all of these things that does take up a lot of time, that's all of a sudden gone. And you have all of these extra spare hours. Like, what do you do with them? And food is, something to do.
Are there other habits or like mechanisms that you give people to focus on, like when they're going through those issues and when they have all that extra time?
Yeah, so even with the girls that I work with that are currently in prep, I'm very, very big on, like, yes, of course, like you do need some aspect of like all in if you're going to compete in bodybuilding. Like, you can't really go out drinking or go have gelato every single day. Like, you can't. At least not like at the final stages. But I'm a very big on, we need to make sure that you are not like Mary the bodybuilder. Like, you are Mary and you like bodybuilding. That's not who you are. So like, what else does Mary like to do? Maybe she likes going for hikes. Maybe she likes going for coffee with her friends. Maybe she likes painting or going to the movies or whatever. And very, like, try to have a normal life when you can, so that it doesn't feel so weird when you then remove that huge thing after the show.
It's really interesting that you talk about it like that. I was actually just presenting at the seminar on the weekend, and one of the largest sections that I discuss in the off season, which is what we're discussing, is the potential area for this particular scenario to rear its ugly head, is the psychological impact of coming to the completion of a major event, because it is really psychologically overwhelming for athletes. And so we talk about the onus being on the coach to educate prior, leading into what is going to be on the other side, but then also being the support network for the individual post-show, right? I actually agree with you in the sense where I think that bodybuilding as a whole is not the precursor necessarily, but it is something that it's like when someone takes drugs or drinks alcohol and people say they're a nasty drunk. Well, no, they're not actually a nasty drunk. That's an undercurrent of them that has been heightened by the substance itself. So bodybuilding can be quite the same, and it can be the vehicle or the conduit that basically heightens what's already underlying. And so I agree with you. And I think that this could also then be taken into what a prep season should look like. And a prep season is not the cut to stage. The prep season should in fact be a period, and quite a steady period prior to the cut, which we sort of typically talk about being at least 12 to 18 months prior. And during that period, there is ample opportunity, and there should be at least 2 periods of time where a good coach will have put someone through a very small window of a cut phase and identified and be looking at potential things coming up. And also, you wouldn't even discuss a stage with someone that has raised any red flags. Anyone that I get that comes to me and they have fear of carbohydrates or fear of weight gain or anything like that, I'm like, cool, there's no stage. There's no stage for you until God knows when. But that dialogue and that whole way of thinking can't even be a problem for you to be able to step into this. And I would hope that more coaches are actually thinking like that or talking like that with people, because I think it would make a lot of these scenarios maybe happen less frequently. And I think it's sad. I don't know, about you, but when I feel someone going through this, or I see or hear someone going through it, I find it really sad. Maybe that's linked to what I witnessed as a child. I don't know, but I feel for them. And I personally just wouldn't want anyone going through it on my watch. You can't catch them all. So, my best laid intentions to avoid people experiencing it don't always go to plan, because people can hide things really well. As you say, they can suppress things really well and never let you know what's going on. But I tell you what, over years of doing this, I can pick up on it a lot more frequently now than I would miss it. So if you could speak to someone who's listening to this right now who maybe feels a little trapped in this cycle, what would you want her to know?
Well, I'd say there's no shame in asking for help. I think so many of us carry this wound or this idea that we need to be strong, independent women, and that we can't ever admit that we're not doing that well, or that there's something wrong, because I think, asking for that help, it kind of makes it real. Like, it's a lot easier to just stay in that suppression mode of like, oh, it's not that bad, or, I'll just do another, like, next week will be different, and I'll just try a bit harder next week, or try a new diet, or, I'll just not eat for 2 days, and then I will just tell my coach that I did eat. And, it's a lot easier to stay in that mindset than to actually come clean and actually say, like, you know what, I'm not doing that well. because it's scary. Like, what if someone rejects you? What if someone judges you? What if someone looks at you and like tells you that you're not enough? Like, it is really scary. But I think if you don't feel comfortable talking to your coach about that, then maybe there's something there that maybe like this person isn't for you. Like, I feel like coach should be someone that you can have quite an open dialogue with. And
Agreed.
if your coach can't help you with that problem, well, then they should be able to refer you. Like, we're not experts at everything. Like, I
love that.
Yeah.
I love that you said that, because that is definitely something that I don't see enough of, but definitely something that I believe in and will often say to people. If actually, I've been guilty of this several times where I've been like, cool, we can't even consider anything else until we include a therapist, because now this is at a point where and it will be about small things, Alan. It's not about I have had this conversation with ladies I deeply care about, when it's not even a problem of they're doing a binge restrict cycle, because I haven't done that, but where they constantly have conversations of such a high level of dysmorphia where I'm like, cool, that's the start of a big flag that could become a problem with restriction or binging or self-destructive and harmful behaviors as a result of the negative dialogue that you see when you see a reflection, right? And where nothing is ever good enough because they're picking themselves apart to the point that is, painful for me to listen to, because I know that there is some deep wounds going on. So I have openly made girls go to therapy. And look, I'm not even mad about it, because the two I'm thinking of right now are now in really good places and no longer doing those things and haven't gone down a slippery slope. I have openly lost two people where I've said, you need therapy, and they've gone, no, I don't want it, and left. And that's okay too, because I feel like I have ethically shown up as the right type of coach. What else would you say, that you would like to see more of from the coaching landscape that also has a part to play in how these women feel and, how they come out the other side of show experiences?
Collaboration, 100%. Like, I think, unfortunately, this industry is very competitive. And like, competitive is good, but it's competitive in a bad way, where people are like, oh, you followed my client. Are you trying to steal them? And, why are you trying to poach my clients from messaging her on her stories? Or, people kind of try and wear every single hat you can as a coach. They think that they're a therapist. They think that they're a hormone specialist. They think they're a gut health specialist. They think they can handle pre-postnatal. Like, no, like, stick to your own lane. We should all stick to our own lanes. Like, stick there. That's what you're good at. Specialize in that. You are going to attract the clients who want that kind of help, because trying to help someone with something that you're not qualified in, it can actually make so much damage. And I see it so much, like, girls that I work with who have worked with, nutrition coaches for years, who have been binging for years, and the nutrition coach just keeps telling them to like journal or like meditate or take a deep breath or, try harder next week or whatever it might be. And the longer you leave this, like, the more it's going to eat away at you, like your self-confidence, your self-trust, and how you speak to yourself, like the guilt and the shame that you were speaking about, like how you're constantly saying how bad you are and that you're not enough and that you're a failure. Like, the longer you leave it, the worse it's going to get. So from a client's perspective, like, get the help as soon as you start seeing these red flags, as soon as you start thinking, maybe this is an issue, get the help. And from a coach's perspective, reach out. Like, I've done this so much, and my clients always say to me, thank you so much for referring me to this person. Thank you so much for not taking this on yourself. I respect you so much more as a coach because you didn't try and do something that you were not qualified in.
Yeah. Also, it's, it's not your wheelhouse you're dealing with every day. You're not going to do it the service that it requires either. Okay. So if you could speak to your younger self, what would you say to her, knowing all that you know now?
Well, I would say to her that it's okay to not be okay, and that you don't always have to be, little Miss Sunshine that makes everyone happy all the time and always pleases everyone else. That it's okay to put yourself first and to actually ask for help when you need it.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of people listening to this will have taken quite a lot of really good stuff out of it. And I think it might give maybe a lot of our audience that struggle with this, maybe silently, a little bit of solace in knowing that there are ways forward, and that, which is, so amazing to hear. It can be done actually quite quickly if the process is followed well, which is comforting, I think, for most. So where can people find you? What would be the next steps if someone wanted to work with you? And how do you typically collaborate with coaches that are also willing to share, clients with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way to find me is just go to my Instagram, Elin Granstrand. You can apply for coaching. You can send me a message. You can listen to my podcast. I have a lot of free podcasts, also free workshops. Sorry, I have an ebook if you're not interested in one-on-one coaching. So yeah, that's where you can find me. Reach out. And for the coaches, I work with quite a lot of bodybuilding coaches actually, and what I do, some people I work very closely, so we will have weekly communication of how is this client doing. Other clients might be a bit more like, you know what, no, I don't want you to tell my coach how I'm doing. I don't feel comfortable you sharing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sharing certain aspects, which is also fine, whatever if you feel comfortable with. And for those clients, it might be a bit more of she's had this many binge-free days now, or this is how she's feeling around food. And everyone is, because it is such a sensitive topic. I do try and be very respectful and really understand what is okay for this client to share and what is not. And yeah, it's honestly been amazing, and I'm so grateful that there are so many bodybuilding coaches trusting me with their clients. It makes me so happy, but they're getting great results, so it's a win-win.
That's good. That's so good. And I think, look, any story where I hear a woman has made it through something like this and come out the other side is a really positive one. So, congratulations to you for being part of that process. And, for anyone listening that has worked with Elin, I'm sure that you've had an amazing journey with her. For anyone that thinks that she may be worth a reach out, you now know where to find her. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast, Elin.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
Thanks, Elin.
Awesome. Thanks, Elin.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much. That was so fun. I love that. Love that chat.
Oh, good. I wanted to try to get a little bit so people could relate to you with your story, but then also how you would apply it in a real setting, and then, your views on things, because I think that's always a really nice way to show where you sit in the industry, which is nice.
Yeah, I love that. You're very good at asking questions, I think.
Oh, good. I always try to think about it from the angle of, well, what would reach our viewer, and then what would best serve you. And I think that was probably the best way to put it together today.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like it's going to resonate with a lot of people. So many of the things we spoke about, it's I could literally just that was that client, that's that client. It's real life things that people are definitely struggling with.
100%. 100%. It's so good. I might even get you to come into our community at some point and do one of the free workshops, because I think that would be really powerful. And I'll try and get as many of our actual, because it's not just the community of active live clients, but we actually have a broader community of, people that have been our clients. So there's literally thousands of people in this space that we can put it out to, and just see who would like to come along, because there may be people that we're not actively working with that might be going through something that could really benefit, and then it might lead to something in some sort of one-on-one for you.
Amazing. Oh, thank you. I'd love that. Yeah. Do you want it to be more focused to the bodybuilders, or is it more lifestyle?
I reckon we go the disordered process and touch on, because it feeds into each other anyway, right? And it being, about that control restrictive binging process, and or where it might stem from or start with dysmorphic focus, and what that can lead to, and or if you're active in it, either via post a show or post long-term chronic dieting, because that is just as impactful as a bodybuilding show, then how to come out of it. Because I think that those two things would be really powerful.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Because even though we know that the restriction is just so much more heightened in a sport like bodybuilding, it is not limited to bodybuilding. And I see this all the time. So I just think, and it's going to sound bad, but it's women over 40 that were raised in the generation where skinny was the thing and shrinking was the focus. So I think, there's a big demographic there that struggles still to this day with a lot of stuff.
Oh, 100%. Like, I signed a client the other day who's 60 years old, and she's been binging for like she's like, I can't remember a time that I wasn't binge eating.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just
horrible.
Like, yeah.
Horrible.
And they, gone from like nutrition coach, done the 8-week challenges and like all this yo-yo dieting.
Nothing sticks.
Yeah,
get it.
Insane. It's insane. But
Well, let's chat and liaise, and then you let me know dates and what have we for yours times, and we can lock that in. And then we'll look at doing something in my community maybe after I've come on your podcast, because then I can promote both podcasts to the group, and then talk about the fact that we're going to run something fun.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, that sounds really, really good. Yeah, I'll be back from this holiday in like 10 days, so yeah. I'll have a better look on
no worries. I'm in no rush. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere until the New Zealand show, so
amazing.
Awesome. No worries. Enjoy the rest of your holiday.
I will.
Keep enjoying the gelato.
I will. I definitely will. Thank you so much again for having me on. It was such a pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you. Bye.